Can't take her nowhere. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of My Morning Coffee, where the conversation is always hot, bold, organic, and full of flavor. And today we have an incredible guest. She's actually one of my favorite people on the planet. And I can't wait to bring her on. She's going to help us close out Suicide Prevention Awareness Month really strong. Hoping that you have an opportunity to see the show last week. We talked about some important issues, numbers that you can call, places that you can support to make sure that we are on the top of mind when it comes to you being a part of suicide prevention. It's important. We all play a part, especially when it comes to the people that we are connected to. But before we get started, let's go ahead and see what's in Miss Gia's cup and what she's been up to. What's up, Miss Gia?
What's up? Good morning, everyone. I have my cute cup with coffee in it. So today is Tuesday. I know you guys are used to seeing us on Monday. So am I. So that's why I have my coffee, because I'm a little tired. This weekend was busy for me. I did vend this weekend. I forgot. That's how busy it was. So I vended on Saturday at the Nothing But Black Flea, the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall. And then Sunday, I went and supported a sister friend of mine who's also a vendor, has a small business. I don't want to call her a vendor, but she has a small business. Her and her daughter, Inspire Re. And they were vending downtown at an event called the Black Market Flea. Awesome event. Awesome. Had a really good time. You guys should check it out. If you see them again, follow them on Instagram. But that event was really nice. The vibe was out its world. After I left there, went home, and I was like, okay, I was so energized. I made something. I painted. Okay.
I saw that your little creativity was sparked. I wanted to ask you, what is the difference between that event and the other fairs that you participate in? What was the biggest difference?
Well, to me, this one, the biggest difference was, this one had, it was a paid event. You had to pay to get in. And they also served alcohol.
Oh.
And they served alcohol. Maybe that's why the vibe was so jamming, because they served alcohol. And I'm sure there was a few other little things going on, municipal stuff that was happening in the area. But I wasn't partaking in that. But I'm just saying that's how the vibe was. It was a really good vibe. But I think the crowd was I want to say it was probably, I'm gonna say maybe mid-20s to maybe mid-40s was probably the age of the crowd. But it was busy. It was constantly people coming in. There was a line to get in. When we left, there was a line still for people to get in. And the event was like, I want to believe the event was, I want to say 1 to 7. And we left about maybe 4:30, almost 5 o'clock. And people still were in line to get into the event. So it was a constant flow of people coming to the event, which was good. Made me feel good to see, because I know putting on those types of things are probably really hard and difficult to do. And what we all want when we participate in those things too, we want people to come and support us. And so seeing that there was a lot of people there supporting all the vendors that were there, that was awesome. I got to meet some new artists and stuff, new people, exchange some information. You would be proud of me, Tonya. I even went live from our My Morning Coffee Facebook page there.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Real quick, one of the things, when we want people to support us, we also have to think about what they're getting out of it. Honestly, what is their ROI on supporting you? What is their ROI on coming out, parking, paying to get in, paying for the products that you guys have? What did it seem like the ROI for the regular consumer was for this event? It sounds like it was basically a good time. Now, a good time is ROI. But some of these events I've been to, and they've been a little bit like, if I'm not spending money, I ain't leaving with anything. So is it really worth my time? I can spend money online these days.
Well, yeah, I think this one, the ROI was really the vibe, the atmosphere, the good time, the music, people, it seemed like everybody was friendly. It was like everybody was just a vibe. And even like sometimes you vend and sometimes the vendors, everybody's not communicating with each other. Like they're here, this is my space, that kind of thing, doing their own thing and stuff. But it seemed though that all the vendors there were there helping out each other. And it was awesome, and maybe it was a generation that was there, the young people, they know how to get in and be about each other. It could have been a little bit of that, or it could have been, I'm not going to say it could have been the herbs that was happening, that maybe made the atmosphere a little lighter for everybody. But no, I think everybody's, what they got out of it was really to go and have a good time and vibe with other people. That's what it sounds like to me. It seemed like to me. So, but who knows? But yeah, but the thing is about when you go to any of these events, small businesses, that's what they're doing. They're there to make money, people. They're not there just to, the labor, to put all the stuff up just to show it and have a display. They're there to make money, and they're there to show you their craft, because a lot of stuff, a lot of these things are handmade. People are making the stuff themselves. They're not they're not wholesaling it. They're actually creating stuff. So they want you to see what they're doing, and they want you to get into what they're doing, because that's the whole thing with anything. We don't do stuff for nothing. We do stuff for some kind of gratification, some kind of inspiration, some kind of something. And a lot of times it's, for money. When you go to the store and you buy online, the person has an online store. Amazon didn't create Amazon just to say Amazon's a cool name. They created Amazon to make some money. And what's his name? Jeff, my boy Jeff, he making a lot of money, because Amazon is coming to everybody's packages. They got them cute little blue trucks now with the look, and stuff. They didn't have that before. You had to deliver your own stuff. Now they got their trucks and stuff. So that's the thing. So if you're shopping on Amazon, you can come down to these events that people are putting together and shop with these local vendors and stuff, because this is their job. Some people during the pandemic, they lost their jobs. So they had to pivot and they had to create something new, and they decided they wanted to be entrepreneurs, and they're doing their thing. There's some people, that's just their thing. They want to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Like me. I like creating,
But you have a job.
But I have a job. But you
arrest people and shoot people and stuff.
Well, yeah, I do that, but I'm getting ready to stop doing that pretty soon. So, I still got to have some money coming in, right? And I like creating. I like to create. I like to make things, and I like people to be when they get my stuff or buy my stuff. I like to see the reaction and that they're excited, that they're happy, they like it, and so it's a good feeling. We all want to feel good, and sometimes entrepreneurship makes people feel good, and that's just what it is. So, so it's really, I guess, and I think too is also to the events. This event was just it was just jamming, and I think music. They had the DJs. They was chicks. They was and I think maybe that's probably what it was. See, a woman put the thing on. You had women DJing. It was all about the woman, maybe. So maybe that's what made the vibe so cool. But I just think when people are putting these things on, people go out and support them in your area, no matter where you live. This is happening across the United States. People are having pop-up markets and stuff everywhere. Go out and support the artists, because they're working hard to bring you some really awesome stuff. And just go, but this also, if you don't even spend money, just go and be in the moment, be there with them. And if the music is playing, jam, move your head, shake your head, move your body and stuff like that. Let people know, hey, you about it and stuff, because that makes a person feel good, because they got to get up early in the morning, lug all this stuff there, pack it up, so don't come with your frown on your face and with your nose all turned up like, stuff. Come there and be like, hey girl, hey boy, whoever's vending, and stuff, and just be in the moment, hey, fake, look, sometimes fake the funk. We know y'all be faking it other times. So sometimes you got to fake it there too. Just hey.
So I was in the moment recently. I just got back from Pittsburgh.
I saw.
Coffee in my cup. Yeah, coffee in my cup. Let me tell you. Jet lag. Again, I was gone 4 days. I wish I would have been gone for 2 days. I told you I realized recently I'm not good with traveling multiple days. Like 2 days is max. 3, I'm about to lose it. In Pittsburgh, they didn't have like the best food. So, we like to eat. And I was sorely disappointed. But again, it was a moment of women supporting women. Women telling their stories. I met some amazing ladies. I think you saw one of the clips that I posted where the lady had been a victim of cyber porn. Her ex-boyfriend was stalking her, trying to get her back, threatened to shoot her in her head, and then she wouldn't come back. So he released some pictures that he had taken of her while they were together and she did not know about.
Wow.
He also threatened to have them distributed on her son's campus. So this was crazy to say the least, but the point was to talk about overcoming, right? How we overcome, how we move from triumph, from trials to triumph, and most of the time how we do it together. So I had the opportunity to talk about the many leadership positions that I've held and be thankful for the women that have been a part of my life that made it possible. How women have supported women and being able to be surrounded by that has been invigorating. Like, we hear about how stank women can be, but the truth of the matter is the older we get, the wiser we get, and the more united we get. And it feels so good. You can look back on, I can look back on my career and see that, and even some of the trials like my mom passing and my grandparents passing, and see how other women have supported. I remember, I'll never forget when my mom passed and the graduate chapter of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated showed up and took care of everything. Okay. They just showed up. I didn't ask. They showed up. A whole chapter showed up and took care of, ma'am, everything. And it was so, it felt so good. So I just want people to know women supporting women can accomplish just about anything. It is a blessing to have good women in your life, and know that you can triumph over trauma. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring on our guest for the day, because while we're on that triumph over trauma, we're going to talk to someone that recently experienced some trauma, but she is pushing through. And, the way that she's doing it and how she is using her own trauma to inform others is just invigorating to me to see. So without further ado, let's bring on Miss Lexi Perez. Hey, girl. Hey.
Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
How are you?
So what's in your cup? Let us know. Let the people know what's in your cup this morning.
Oh, coffee for sure. I got to get through the day somehow with two babies. So
2 babies. Tell us about these little people.
2 babies. I have a daughter, Luna, she's 3, and Enzo, he's 10 months.
How amazing. So listen, I want to be clear that this is a personal connection. I know Miss Lexi from when she was kind of little, and her sister Bobby. But most importantly, I knew her parents. And let me tell you, I had absolutely no idea for so long that her parents were even divorced. I've never seen divorced people act like this before in my life. They take care of each other. They love on each other. I was like, you lying? They are not. I thought they were pranking me until her mom decided she loved my husband so much. No, I'm just kidding. But her mother was very gracious in our community in Contra Costa County. And she loved on all the young little people. She was a great friend to so many moms. And I just I have never seen people that were divorced that liked each other so much. Can you tell me what it was like to grow up with parents that weren't married but acted like they were?
Yeah, they divorced when I was 10, and it wasn't really different for my sister and I. We didn't experience like trauma or weird emotions from our parents splitting up because they kept it so normal for us, and we still did holidays together and family trips together and dinners together, and we were around each other a lot, and we were still that tight family unit. The 4 of us were still extremely close, and they made it fabulous for us as a divorced couple. And they put their daughters first. Absolutely.
Do you even remember them getting a divorce? Because you can think back, other people can think back to the moment their parents split up and probably are still traumatized to this day. Do you even remember when they broke up?
I kind of remember my mom saying that dad was going to go live, elsewhere for a little bit with a friend, and nothing would change. We'd still see him. He just wasn't going to be at the house anymore. And so I just thought they were separated for a long time. And it wasn't until probably, I don't know, a year or 2 later where mom's like, oh, no, we got divorced. I was like, okay. So
And now, as a married woman, though, you're now
Mhm.
married with kids.
Mhm.
Can you even imagine being that close to your ex still? Like what that had to be like?
It would be hard. It would be hard, but they parted very amicably and still with love for one another, and just knew that their marriage wasn't going to work out and they weren't meant to be together anymore, but there was no hard feelings or any animosity between them, so they were able to have that relationship and to keep it like that.
Lexi, it sounds like to me your parents is something that I always tell people, young people, when I talk to them. It sounds like your parents, they really liked each other.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I tell people, you have to, forget. I know everybody wants love and love, 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 but you really want to like a person. I want to be with somebody that I like. That like at the end of the day, I don't mind sitting on the couch with them when shit ain't right. When ain't nothing else going on, that person's cool. I enjoy being around that person. That's what it sounds like. The marriage didn't work out, but they liked each other as people, and like enjoyed being around each other. But also too, they put everything else aside for the love for their two daughters. What it sounds like too. And they were adulting before adulting was a thing.
Absolutely, yeah. My dad still called my mom for advice up until recently, and vice versa. They would still talk even without us being involved, even without their daughters. So it's great.
I love that. So, as someone that has lost a parent, I know how incredibly difficult that can be. You lost your father about 4 months ago. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, my dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease about 6 years ago. And my grandpa also has Parkinson's. So he knew right away what that was going to look like for him as he progressed in age. And up until the end, it was getting worse. He was still able to do most things that he loved up until the last month or so. And he was finding it hard to cook for himself, simple things like just holding his coffee cup, doing the things that he loved, hiking, golfing, fishing. He couldn't do any of those anymore. He was just getting more stiff. He was in pain a lot. His medications he was trying to figure out. And apparently he just felt very hopeless, and my dad ended up taking his own life.
Wow.
So, kind of explain to the audience what Parkinson's looks like, because maybe they've heard about it, but what does that actually do physically to a person?
Yeah, it's like a neurological disease that affects your nerves, the pathways in your brain. So your brain can't really connect with what you want to tell your body to do. Some people have like the shakes or tremors or stutters. My dad was more of a stiff gait. He walked with a slight limp. His arms and his hands were very stiff. Towards the end, he told me that he thought his speech was getting affected. He said he felt his throat was closing up and he was afraid he was going to choke. He was just talking about more pain towards the end. And it can also cause things like depression. It can change the pathways in your brain, and it can cause depression itself. So yeah, it just changes your whole brain pathway.
Now, as his loved one, how did you and your sister and your mom and those close to him feel watching him go through this?
Oh, it was extremely hard. We knew he was struggling. He thought something else was wrong with him towards the end. He said, I don't know if I have cancer. I need to go get an MRI. He just was very worried about something else being wrong. And we tried to tell him it's, probably just your Parkinson's progressing. And he would go to his doctor. He had a neurologist, and they confirmed that it's your Parkinson's. And, he just had a hard time mentally. He always had a hard time mentally accepting his disease because he lived such an active life. And he didn't want to not be able to do the things that he loved.
When you think back about it, were there signs? Did you guys notice? I know he was changing because the disease was taking over and stuff. But did you guys notice anything other than that made you might wonder, is he gonna still be around or what or not?
Yeah, no, not at all. We expected to take care of him when he was old and in a wheelchair, like my grandpa, and I fully expected me to be his caretaker when he was an old man. And he'd never struggled with depression or mental illness or addiction or some of the typical things you see with suicide. He, as I explained, was all about his daughters and his family. So I would have never thought that he would ever pass away like that. Never crossed my mind.
One of the things that I have struggled with the passing of people that are close to me in my life is wondering, is it better to know that it's coming, right? So you have time to prepare and have those conversations that you always want to make sure you have with people that you love, or when it's sudden and you don't have to deal with all of that. And I never get an answer. Is it, if one way is better than the other? Because to me, the pain is just pain. Like, it doesn't matter. I've seen it both ways, and the pain is just the pain. But for you, knowing that he was sick, were there conversations that you had because you knew at some point you wouldn't be able to have anymore?
He was very prepared and like telling me and my sister, when I die, this is where this is, or you guys, like getting his assets in line, I guess. But that was for years. And maybe he just thought, if I suddenly pass from my Parkinson's, I don't know. That's the thing about suicide, is that you have all these questions that you'll never get answered. And yeah, the sudden passing is, I think it even adds to the grief. It makes it a little more complicated. And there's just so many layers to a suicide grief, because not only are you mourning the sudden traumatic passing of your loved one, but you have all these questions and you're just trying to get yourself into their mindset. Like, how did it come to this? I understand it. I understand why, but how did it get to that? How were you okay with making that decision?
Lex, I'm listening to you, and you said something that a lot of people don't say, and you said you understood. And I think when people are dealing with illnesses that can eventually take them from earth, a lot of people don't they can't comprehend that. They can't, the whole understanding of it. And it seems like you guys, you understood how he was feeling and how he might have felt, and you kind of came to terms with that. But like you said, death is hard for everybody, no matter how it comes. Even when you know it's coming, it's like Tonya said, it still hurts. It's still painful. But the fact that, because some people know it's coming, but still don't want to understand it is coming, and they're still struggling. And you guys are strong. So you're a strong woman. Because you watched your father with this disease, because it seemed like it came on pretty early with him. So you got to see a lot of it, his progression. And then like you said, your grandfather had the same disease. So you probably saw it with your grandfather. So you guys saw a lot. And I think, I look at when I hear stuff like that happening, I say that sometimes, are we selfish? The ones that are still here, when we feel the way we feel, because we're not suffering. We don't have the same pain that person is having when they're going through what they're going through. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense.
It does. And I feel kind of both sides of that. I feel like would be so selfish of me to wish him still here when he was suffering so badly. He was in pain. He couldn't live a normal life. He didn't want to burden his loved ones. He didn't want to burden his daughters. He didn't want to have us be his caretakers, even though we absolutely would have been honored to do that for him. And then on the other side, it's kind of like, but you still should have stayed,
Yeah. And I think, like with you, I'm sure with you, a lot of it's too, you wanted him to stay because your kids, you wanted your kids to be experiencing him a lot longer and things like that. And the things that we all think about when we're young, we're going to grow up and get married, have kids, and our parents are going to be grandparents and going to come get them and take them on trips and, and all that kind of stuff, and so, and now he's not here. So you have some of that feeling like, and I think it's probably a lot of it for your kids, their grandfather's not here anymore.
Yeah. Absolutely. My daughter was very close with him. So it's been a rough road trying to navigate how to tell a toddler, that her grandpa's not coming back. And before suicide, touched my life, when you hear of someone taking their life, your first reaction is why? They had kids, grandkids, they had all this love in their life. Like, why would they do that? And as I've learned through my grief, and talking to my grief therapist, who actually specializes in suicide, so she's helped me understand the mind of somebody that would do that. You learn that it has nothing to do with that. You know, people that are in this deep, dark depression, they can't see a way out. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. And she explained it to me as, you know, when you're a teenager in high school and you get in a fight with your friend, or your boyfriend breaks up with you, and it's just the absolute worst thing in the world, and you can't see past that problem because your brain's not mature enough to look past that and know, okay, this is going to be okay. My life's still going to go on. This is just a temporary problem. That's how people that are depressed, that's how their brains work. They can't see past their problem, and they just become very, very hopeless. And suicide is the last symptom of depression.
Mm-hmm.
When my when my grandfather passed, he had cancer, and you know, this is the kind of cancer that does not have a solution, does not have a resolution. It is not. It is inoperable. So we knew it was coming, but just not when. Right? We had a couple. I thought we had a couple of years. Doctor said it could be a couple of years, and he was responding to treatment, but you could still see how it was debilitating him. I remember he used to say, like, oh, you know, where do you want to go? Like, it's just me and you. Where do you want to go? And he'd be like, oh, I've done everything I want to do. I've lived the best life. And he has taken care of his loved ones. And I always felt like, oh, no, we can do so much more. Like, we have a year, we have 2 years. There's so much I can pack into your 2 years. And he was just like, I'm good. Like this, me and you right here, this is good. And I never felt like I could do enough. Anyways, he wound up falling and couldn't get up for some days, wound up going to the hospital, had a heart attack in the hospital. I think what happened, I honestly think he did not want to go back home by himself, right? And I have to come to terms with that. So a couple of things I wanted to ask you. Was there something in particular you wanted to do with your father before he passed, or something you wanted to say that you didn't get a chance to say?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I never imagined that my time with him was as limited as it was. I honestly thought he would live a long time. My grandpa's in his mid-80s. He's still, although he's wheelchair bound and he can barely speak, he's still alive. So that's what I pictured for my dad. I thought he'd be well into his 80s, 90s and just live a long life, even though debilitated. So I never even thought to you know, get these well, actually I did. I mean, now since his disease started progressing, I knew that he wasn't able to do a lot of the things he loved. So yeah, he would have turned 60 in July. So we had a Lake Tahoe birthday trip for him planned. We were going to go, you know, stay by the lake and do some hikes. And, you know, we obviously didn't make it to that. So yeah, I was trying to pack in a lot to do with him because I knew he was struggling. And I knew since he stopped doing his activities that he loved, that I was going to need to, you know, he stopped wanting to go on vacation though. So it was hard.
When our last trip to Mississippi to see my grandfather was with the twins. And recently, actually, Talia asked me, when are we going to go see grandpa again? And it dawned on me that I never told them. How are you dealing with your young daughter? Does she still ask for him? And what is that conversation like, or your plan to deal with that?
She doesn't ask for him. She knows that he's gone.
Okay.
She knows that he passed away. She still says some days, why did grandpa die, or how did grandpa die? And at this point I've just said, you know, he had Parkinson's disease, and she knew he had a disease. She would see him take his medicine. She would help him take his medicine. And she's pretty smart. She can understand, you know, that something was wrong with him. But we've been going to his house a lot lately, and that's been hard having her there without him. But I just tell her beforehand, you know, remember, grandpa's not going to be there. It's just going to be us there at his house. And she was there, you know, the day that I found out, that me and my sister found out. So she saw our grief firsthand. And I've been pretty good with being able to grieve in front of her to certain extents, because I want her to know that it's okay to cry, it's okay to grieve. and that you'll get through it, that you'll be okay. I don't want to hide my grief from her. I want her to know that this is a totally normal part of life, and that we will get through the other side of it. And although we'll be sad forever, we'll still be okay. It's survivable. Grief is survivable.
That's a powerful lesson.
Yes.
You also have a little person, and they can't speak, but they can tell when something is going on with their parent. So talk to me about grieving and parenting.
That's kind of a double-edged sword for me, at least. It's a blessing because it gets me out of bed every day. I mean, the very next day, it's not like I could just lay in bed and cry. I had to get up and take care of my kids. So in a way, it offers a good distraction, and it still keeps you in your kind of happy little bubble as much as it can. And then on the other hand, it can be distracting, which is not always good. You need to have that time to grieve and to let it out and to cry and to process your emotions how you need to move forward. And that's hard when you're taking care of kids all day. So you literally have to schedule grief time and set aside time after they go to bed, during nap time, whatever, to just make yourself cry. Because I can go days without crying, and then I'll be like, I need to let this out. I need an outlet for this. So, you literally have to schedule it because it's hard to do both simultaneously with children.
You learn how to schedule a lot of things when parenthood comes involved, right?
You schedule a good cry sesh, yeah.
I do know that people grieve differently, and you, your mom, and your sister, and for anybody else that grieves differently than someone in their family that might be going through something like this, how does that look? And then how do you relate to each other? How do you support each other when you are dealing with this differently?
My mom and my sister have been the biggest support system because that's our common ground. Our dad is our common ground. He was our missing link to our family. So we're able to talk openly about it and about, his decisions he made. And we're totally a safe space in that, discussing our dad. With grieving differently, you just have to know that everybody grieves differently. And that can be anger and disappointment and deep, deep sadness. And that could be different for everyone every single day. One day I could feel this way and the next day I could feel completely different. Some days you're okay. Some days you are in the depths of your grief. So what I've learned is that, suicide is not my fault. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't our fault. It wasn't our responsibility, but our responsibility is to do the work to get through the grief. And your grief will never go away, but it's our responsibility to do the work to make it livable. So we've been doing the work.
Miss Lex, this is not what most people think suicide looks like, right? You have euthanasia situation where someone's sick and this is what they're planning. He was planning this, obviously, without your input. But was there a time where maybe you thought it and didn't say it? Ask him where he was with his mental health or depression or suicidal ideations. Did you ever ask? Did you ever want to ask? And what would be your advice to people that's dealing with someone that might have suicidal tendencies, but they're afraid to ask?
Yeah. No, I never really asked. I mean, we'd say, how are you doing? We know he was struggling the last week or so. I think his trigger was he went to see my grandpa and he saw just my grandpa. And I think that was his trigger on getting the ball rolling on what he did. So we knew he was struggling that last week with his physical symptoms, but he did tell me a couple days before that he thinks his muscle relaxer medication was making him depressed. He did tell me that. And I said, okay, Dad, we need to talk to me about that. You can't hold it all in. And he said, okay. And, I stopped taking them. I already feel better. So, that hindsight, looking back, there were things that I just wish I would have, shoulda, coulda, woulda, dove into that a little bit deeper with him. I had no idea how long he had been feeling that way or if he was even thinking of taking it home. That just wasn't an option. Like that didn't even cross my mind. So yeah, for people with somebody that's struggling, my advice would be just assume that you're the only person that's reaching out, because even though it may be an awkward conversation or a hard conversation to have, you just have to assume that you're the only one saying it, and make a safe space for them. And instead of trying to fix everything, I did that a lot with my dad. You know, he'd complain about a symptom or something, and I would always try to fix it for him. And we'll do this instead, or try this, or let's do this or that. And I think what he needed was just somebody to listen. I mean, I listened to him, but I think what people that are really depressed need is just a non-judgmental ear that's not trying to fix their problems. That's just there to listen and say, you know, I hear you. I see you. I'm sorry you're struggling. And then you can take the steps to, you know, get through that. But I think a safe space and just listening and being that for them instead of trying to fix everything. Because I think as society, we're all fixers. Mm-hmm. And that's something I really try to be aware of. Is someone comes to me just to vent, you know, you're not like, we'll try this, or here's my advice. Like, just listen to them and let them talk.
Miss Gia, what are your thoughts?
That's really good advice, Lexi. I was just listening to you, and I just want to say to you and anybody else up there, when it comes to stuff like suicide and people taking their lives and stuff, don't, I know it's easy to say, don't feel bad about it. Because it's sometimes things are out of our control. And we can't, when the planet's already in motion, we can't stop it. And like you said, we have to be there to listen and be there and know that person loved you, and, you know, loved your family, loved everything about you and stuff. But, you know, cause I work with the mental ill, in my profession, and in my profession, I've seen a lot of death in different ways. And I've had people close to me. The closest person so far, in my adult life that's passed recently in my family is my aunt, my mom and sister, and she's like a mother to me. And that was very traumatic for me because, you think the person is always going to be there. And then when you realize, oh, they're not there and stuff. And like my father's not here, he passed away. And listening to you, Tonya, you know, and you ask, and you say, well, what if he was still here? What could I have said to him, or what would I have said to him and stuff like that? My father, I think, had a stroke or heart attack on the streets riding his bicycle up north. And I got a call from my aunt, you know, that he was on life support, and I hadn't talked to my father in years. And it was ironic. I used to always say that when something happened to my father, that's when I was going to get a call and I would have to make these decisions. And knowing this, I still, when the time came, I still struggled with having to make that decision and stuff, you know. But unfortunately, he went on and passed away, and I didn't have to make the decision to take him off for life support and stuff like that. But I agree, but I think, like you said, everybody grieves differently. And I guess I don't know if my job is kind of hard to me because I've seen so much bad stuff. And it's like, I know it's going to happen. It's going to happen for all of us. But again, certain triggers too. I'm saying this now, and something can happen to somebody tomorrow, and I might be feeling a whole differently and stuff. But like you said, listen. Like you said, there was things he said, but you still wouldn't know. We don't know because we're living in the moment. We don't think him saying that the medication was making him feel that way. You didn't think nothing of it. Your whole thing was to fix it. Your first thing was, well, let's get on a different medication. Let's call your doctor and find something different to take. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. We never think that people that we care about are gonna leave us in the ways that they do leave us sometime and stuff. And it's nothing you can do. But I'm just looking at you and listening to you. He did well raising you guys. You are strong. I can tell you are a strong young woman and stuff.
Thank
you. It's just I'm kind of like having chills just listening to you and looking at you talk to you and stuff. And Tonya she always brings me some of her friends that are just like, now I want to be your friend now, Lexi. That's what I'm saying. It's like, you know, I'm like, I was like, Tonya, what is she
be a friend?
Like, let's go visit her. I want to go visit her. I want to meet the kids, you know, I want to hang out with the kids. And, you know, it's like, you know, so your father, you know, so know that that's your father. That's your father that that's living it within you and stuff. Because I'm ready to get on the road now.
Listen, I don't think Lexi has always liked me. So, there probably were times where she was like, I can't stand this woman, but I'm going to lighten it up a little bit. Let them know how we know each other, Miss Lex.
I don't know if we first met through cheer or through our sisters.
It was the sisters, but
okay. So our sisters played softball together, and then Tonya became my cheer coach. So yeah, I'm sure she was telling me what to do a lot, and
I understand, Lexi. But you didn't probably like her. I understand because she's my sorority sister and she's younger, but sometimes, yeah, she could be a bit bossy.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I know what I know for sure is that, especially with the three ladies that are on this panel right now, is when part of our healing is giving back. Part of our healing is doing the work. And I want you, Miss Lex, to let people know what you are doing now to kind of deal with this trauma that you have been dealt. What causes are you championing, and how would you like people to remember your father?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've just started out by just discussing it. I think that's therapeutic for everybody. It could be a learning curve for everybody. And the specific foundations, I think the biggest one in our country is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, AFSP. So that's a good one. I've been, there's walks you can do out of the darkness walks. A lot of those are coming up in October. So you can look in your area and sign up for a walk. Or if you know somebody that died or know somebody that lost a loved one to suicide, then, I'm sure they would love that support. And you can make a donation and just to the charity itself. And there's suicide hotlines, and I just want people to know that there is help available. If you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling like you're in a dark hole and there's just so much hopelessness, like please reach out because, with my dad, like I said, there were hardly any signs. We didn't know that was coming. So your loved ones would much rather you reach out and burden them because you're not a burden than have you gone. So speak up. I just hope everybody has the courage to speak up or to reach out to a friend if they think somebody's in need.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing your story. And for the audience, Lex has always been one of my favorite cheerleaders, and that has a lot to do with her parents. You definitely can tell parenting through their children. She is a direct legacy of her father and the love that her parents had for each other and for their children. So again, I want to thank you for being here. And clearly now you have a new fan. So if she starts sending you messages, just respond because she's a cop and I don't want her harassing you. But yeah, you got you a new fan. And I think I'm going to have to introduce her to your mom because they might have a couple.
I think mom will like her. Yeah.
I know.
You guys would make a good trio, that's for sure.
Well, thanks so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, and thank you guys for having me on.
We will definitely continue to support you, look out for you. If you need anything from us, definitely let us know.
I will. Thank you guys.
All right, Miss Gia, what are your thoughts?
Miss Lexi, she's a wonderful young lady. And she's very, very, very mature and strong. I don't think she realizes how strong she is. And just watching her and looking at her, I can see that she's a strong woman. And she's persevering very well. And again, you like she said, you never will fully be over it. But you take each day one day at a time. And like she said, she's seeking help and she's talking about it. And that's the thing that we don't do, especially in the Black community. We don't talk about stuff. And I think we need to talk more about things to let things out, because a lot of people are holding on to things, have things internally that they're dealing with, and they don't want to speak out or talk about it because either they're afraid or they're ashamed and stuff like that. And we need to stop making people feel so to be ashamed about anything that's happened to them or is happening to them, and be, let's talk about it. That's the whole thing. So I think talking about things does help. It helps the people that are dealing with it, and it's helping the people who don't know what you're dealing with. too. So we should have more conversations about things. That's what we do here. On the podcast, we bring conversations, topics that people don't sometimes want to talk about. We're here to talk about them because we ain't scared, as you say. So this was a good way to end Suicide Prevention Month with Lexi in her story, in her father's story. But I can imagine, what they all are, going through. And it's hard when you see it. Like she said, her father saw what his life was going to be in his father. And that's probably hard for a lot of people. And that's the thing. People don't think about that kind of stuff. This man was, seeing himself every day within his father. So he probably was dealing with a whole lot. And like you said, nobody wants to leave. Sometimes it's not about them. It's about their loved ones. They don't want their loved ones to go through all the things that they have to go through. So they figure it's better if they're not here anymore. And that's, and you can't say that's right or you can't say it's wrong. That's just how people feel. And that's kind of how I approach things. I try not to, dwell on, the negative side of anything. It's just like, hey, I wasn't walking in that person's shoes. So who am I to really to say or be angry or be upset about something? I just have to take it and say, okay, and process it and try to, be a better person every day.
Yeah, it's interesting to know how much they talked and how close they were and all of the things that he said. There was still so much going on inside of his head and his heart that he didn't say.
Right.
And that's note to all of our listeners, when you are dealing with your friends, your family, as much as they say to you, there's still some things that they're probably not saying. So you really have to learn how to be an active listener. And sometimes you get afraid to ask those questions that are in the back of your mind. Like Net said last week, some people don't ask because they're afraid that if you weren't thinking it, now that you've put it in their mind, then they're going to be thinking it. But the truth of the matter is, you have to ask questions if you want answers. You have to communicate. You cannot be afraid of much as people say. There's so much they don't say. You have to be listening, an active listener, to hear that. And you have to be brave enough to ask those questions. So again, thank Miss Lexi for sharing her story. My love goes out to her and her family. Love them to death. Girl, you got to meet Miss Robin. She is a redhead, hot mama, and she loves her some chocolate. So when we get out to
so when we gonna take a road trip then, because I'm telling you, I kid you not, it was just something about Lex, and I was like, dog it, there go Tonya again, bring somebody on the show that for several reasons, like now I want to be her friend. I was like, I'm like, I want to be her big sister now. It's like, it was just like, it's just something about her. And you know me, I don't really like a lot of people. So
yeah. So Miss Gia, let the people know where they can find you and what you have coming up.
Well, you guys can always find me on the gram. Is it called the gram now? Or is it called IG? I don't know
it's whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Well, I like the gram. The gram sounds kind of hip, like like hippie or something. So you can find me on the gram at the Mahogany Box, or you can find me on Facebook, the Mahogany Box. But this coming up Sunday, October the 3rd, you can find me at the at the Jazz and R&B Soul Brunch. I'm going to be vending there, and at the Automobile Driving Museum in El Segundo. And we'll put the flyer on our page. But right now, the address it's in El Segundo, and it's going to be from 12 to 6 p.m. There's tickets still available. We'll put that link on there on the website too. But you guys should come out because the Chef Bly, his food is whoo. I'm telling you, to die for. I did his brunch before, and he had these waffles. When you eat them, and they just pop in your mouth with this goodness, girl, goodness. And that's probably the only reason why I'm doing the brunch. It's not really because I want to sell all my fabulous stuff. It's for
because you want to eat.
I want to eat. It's for his food.
Trifling.
So, I know. I'm so trifling. I know. I shouldn't even be that way. But you know me. I'm a realist. I keeps it real. that's the only reason why I'm like, oh, chef's having another event. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that event. He cooking. Oh yeah, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So yeah, so that's where I'll be next Sunday. I know. I should stop. Yeah, I'll be cutting up on y'all. I'll be cutting up on this show, right? But I just try to bring the realness to y'all because I can't be no other way but real. But yeah, so yeah, back to where I'm going to be on Sunday. That's at the jazz brunch. But I'll have I'm not gonna put it on the page, y'all. I'm gonna probably have Tonya because she's the guru of all that stuff. I'm not the guru of stuff. I'm only the guru of making fabulous things, like jewelry, head wraps, and t-shirts and apparel. That's where I'm the guru at. But all this Facebook and social media stuff, that is not me. So when you see my stuff, don't be thinking, oh, Gia, no, that's not me. That's not me. But I'm okay with it. I embrace it and I'm okay with it. So y'all should be okay with it too. But yeah, that's where I'll be on Sunday. And yeah, that's it. But y'all get me on Instagram. Matter of fact, some of y'all follow me on Instagram. Matter of fact, not some of y'all, all y'all go to Instagram and follow your girl, the Mahogany Box.
No, not the Mahogany Box. You have your own IG now.
Shh.
So
okay.
Done with her. I have a new live that's going to start on LinkedIn, and it is all things PR and branding. And I will be having other publicists, PR professionals, and branding experts on LinkedIn starting on Mondays at 4 p.m. Pacific time. If you are trying to grow your business, if you don't know if you need PR, if you don't know what kind of PR, if you are struggling with your brand, if you aren't selling and you should be, that's what you're thinking, we will be having some branding experts help with that. So it's tea time. It's tea time. 4 o'clock on LinkedIn every Monday, starting next Monday. That's what's coming up for me. For the most part, and you can always don't listen. I'm done with her.
No. Reason why I'm laughing because I was like, oh yeah, cool. She doing her thing on Mondays tea time, and then you just said something, and I realized okay, because I'm all about Tonya, and I follow Tonya. I everything she be doing, I be trying to get in and listen and stuff like that. But you think you slick, and I know what you're doing. Oh yeah, you think you slick. Because all of a sudden, your tea time is on LinkedIn. You know what? You ain't even right. You're not even right.
Listen, that's where people are trying to handle their business at, okay?
Yeah. LinkedIn. Okay. So now you're wrong. I suppose you to look. I'm looking at the camera. Tonya, you're wrong for that, okay? LinkedIn, you're wrong.
Listen, I'll see you on Mondays at 4 o'clock on LinkedIn, 4 o'clock Pacific time. I'm so happy to be back in Pacific time on the West Coast. I don't know what to do with myself, so I probably won't be leaving anytime soon. If you need me, Sand and Shores on IG, Twitter, Facebook, Tonya McKenzie PR. I'm easy to find. Google me. We'll talk. We'll see you next week. Back on actually, that's not true. We actually have a show coming up on Thursday, so stay tuned. Forgot to tell you about that.
Yeah, Thursday. Okay. Well, look, we'll see y'all Thursday.
Hey, you guys have a good